Tulsi Gabbard finally announces the reason for her divorce. Tulsi Gabbard is a trailblazing political figure, a military veteran, and a prominent voice in American politics known for her bold stance on foreign policy and progressive ideals. Born on April 12, 1981, in Liloaloa, American Samoa, Gabbard was raised in a multicultural, politically active family, with her father Mike Gabbard being a well-known figure in Hawaii's politics. Her upbringing instilled in her a deep sense of service, spirituality, and the importance of community. Gabbard is of Samoan and European descent, and her diverse heritage has shaped her worldview and the way she approaches issues of social justice and public service. Tulsi Gabbard's life was marked by a strong emphasis on service and a commitment to the public good. Growing up in Hawaii, she developed a love for nature, culture, and the island spirit of ohana, or family. Gabbard's Hindu faith, which she has embraced throughout her life, also deeply influenced her moral and ethical views. Her mother, Carol Gabbard, a practicing Hindu, passed on these values to Tulsi, shaping her inclusive and spiritual outlook. Her early exposure to politics and activism came through her father, who was involved in local politics and held strong views on various social issues. Tulsi's upbringing fostered in her a desire to serve her community and country, which became a central theme throughout her life. One of the defining aspects of Tulsi Gabbard's career is her military service. In 2003, at the age of 21, she joined the Hawaii Army National Guard, a decision that would later shape her political career and worldview. She served 2 tours of duty in the Middle East, including a deployment to Iraq in 2004 during the height of the war. Gabbard's experiences on the battlefield had a profound impact on her, shaping her strong anti-interventionist stance and her vocal opposition to regime change wars that have characterized much of U.S. foreign policy in recent decades. Her time in the military not only earned her accolades, such as the Meritorious Service Medal, but also deepened her commitment to advocating for veterans' rights and the importance of thoughtful foreign policy. Gabbard rose to the rank of major during her service and continues to serve in the National Guard, making her one of the few members of Congress with first-hand military experience. Tulsi Gabbard's political career began at a remarkably young age. In 2002, she became the youngest woman ever elected to the Hawaii state legislature at just 21 years old. Her time in the state legislature allowed her to hone her skills as a public servant and establish herself as a champion for the people of Hawaii. During her tenure, she focused on issues such as environmental conservation, healthcare reform, and supporting the local economy. Her political philosophy has always centered around serving the people and standing up for what she believes is right, even if it means going against the grain. In 2012, Gabbard made history once again when she was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, becoming the first Samoan American and the first Hindu member of Congress. During her tenure as a representative for Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District, she was a vocal advocate for veterans, environmental protection, and civil liberties. Gabbard's work in Congress often crossed party lines, as she sought to find common ground on critical issues like healthcare, climate change, and criminal justice reform. Her bipartisan approach earned her respect from colleagues on both sides of the aisle, though it also led to criticism from some within her own party. Perhaps the most distinctive feature of Tulsi Gabbard's political career has been her staunch opposition to interventionist U.S. foreign policy. Drawing on her military experience, Gabbard has been one of the most vocal critics of what she terms regime change wars, military interventions aimed at toppling foreign governments under the guise of promoting democracy. Gabbard's opposition to these policies, particularly in countries like Syria, Iraq, and Libya, has earned her both praise and criticism. She has argued that these interventions often lead to more harm than good, destabilizing regions and causing immense suffering for civilians. Her most controversial moment came in 2017 when she met with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, a move that sparked outrage among many who viewed it as legitimizing a dictator accused of war crimes. However, Gabbard defended her decision, stating that diplomacy and dialogue are necessary to end the bloodshed in Syria and bring about peace. Her willingness to challenge the Washington consensus on foreign policy has made her a unique and sometimes polarizing figure in American politics. In 2020, Tulsi Gabbard launched a bid for the Democratic nomination for President of the United States. Her campaign was marked by its focus on ending endless wars, promoting peace through diplomacy, and advocating for civil liberties and environmental sustainability. Gabbard's message resonated with a broad coalition of voters, including progressives, libertarians, and veterans, though she struggled to gain traction within the Democratic Party establishment. Despite her relatively low polling numbers, Gabbard remained in the race longer than many of her competitors, earning a loyal following among voters who were disillusioned with mainstream political discourse. Though Gabbard ultimately did not secure the nomination, her campaign left a lasting impact on the national conversation about foreign policy, civil liberties, and the need for systemic reform. She was a strong advocate for issues such as Medicare for all, criminal justice reform, and taking bold action on climate change, all while maintaining her commitment to non-interventionist foreign policy. After leaving Congress in 2021, Tulsi Gabbard has continued to be an influential voice in American political discourse. She has made numerous media appearances and continues to speak out on issues ranging from military intervention to freedom of speech and religious liberty. Gabbard has also been a vocal critic of the increasing polarization in American politics, urging for unity and respectful dialogue across ideological lines. Tulsi Gabbard's personal life reflects her deep connection to her faith, family, and love for the outdoors. A lifelong practicing Hindu, Gabbard's spirituality plays a central role in her life and informs many of her policy positions, especially her emphasis on compassion, service, and peace. She often speaks about the Bhagavad Gita, a sacred Hindu text, and how its teachings have guided her through challenging moments, including her military service. Tulsi Gabbard's divorce from Eduardo Tamayo is a poignant chapter in her personal and political narrative, revealing the deep emotional toll that military service can place on personal relationships. Married in 2002 at the age of 21, Gabbard and Tamayo seemed to be a young couple starting a shared future. However, in 2004, Gabbard's deployment to Iraq with the National Guard introduced a profound strain on their marriage, one that they ultimately could not withstand. By 2006, Gabbard and Tamayo divorced, and she would later cite the pressures of war as a key reason for the breakdown of their relationship. The stresses war places on military spouses and families was her public explanation for the dissolution of their marriage. This candid admission was not only a reflection of her personal pain but also an acknowledgement of a broader reality faced by many military families whose relationships are tested by the long absences, dangers, and emotional aftermath of war. Gabbard's personal experience as a veteran and military spouse provided her with a unique perspective that would resonate with many. In her own words, she admitted that she and Tamayo had become another statistic, another sad story. This was not just about their heartbreak but part of a larger, often invisible narrative of military families who experience the trauma of separation, the anxiety of combat zones, and the difficulties of reintegration. Gabbard's openness about her divorce, especially when discussed publicly, served as a reminder of the human cost of war, something that extends far beyond the battlefield and into the homes of soldiers. This personal loss was significant in shaping Gabbard's political trajectory. Serving in Iraq not only put her life at risk but also exposed her to the complex and often tragic consequences of American military intervention overseas. Unlike many of her colleagues in politics, Gabbard had witnessed war firsthand, and the experience made her an outspoken critic of U.S. involvement in foreign conflicts. She became a vocal opponent of what she called counterproductive, wasteful foreign wars. For Gabbard, this was not just a political stance. It was rooted in personal experience and a desire to prevent others from enduring the suffering she had seen and lived through. Her opposition to military interventions was a defining feature of her political platform, often putting her at odds with the mainstream Democratic Party, which has at times supported military engagement. Her first-hand experience gave her a different lens through which to view foreign policy, one shaped not by ideology but by the tangible costs of war on human lives, both American soldiers and the civilians affected in war-torn regions. Gabbard's critics often struggled to understand her anti-interventionist views, but her reasoning was simple. She had seen the damage done, and she believed the price was too high. This deep conviction would become one of the hallmarks of her political identity, setting her apart in a political landscape where many still viewed military intervention as a necessary tool of foreign policy. In 2015, Gabbard found love again and married freelance cinematographer and editor Abraham Williams in a traditional Vedic wedding ceremony, paying homage to her Hindu faith. Yet, despite her professional successes and the joy of her second marriage, Gabbard faced new challenges in her personal life. In 2024, during an appearance on Meghan McCain's podcast, Gabbard revealed that she and Williams had been trying to start a family for several years. Their efforts included multiple rounds of in vitro fertilization, IVF, but, tragically, they were unsuccessful. This revelation, coming years after her first marriage's dissolution, again highlighted the deeply personal sacrifices and struggles Gabbard has faced outside the political spotlight. In sharing her struggles with IVF, Gabbard opened up about another aspect of her personal life that resonates with many couples. The emotional and physical toll of infertility treatments, particularly for someone in the public eye, is immense. Gabbard's decision to talk about her experiences showed her vulnerability and further cemented her connection with supporters who saw her as not just a politician but as someone who had navigated deeply human struggles. The juxtaposition of her public persona, strong, determined, and unafraid to challenge the status quo, with her personal heartbreak made her story all the more compelling.